By show of hands, how many lady bosses are out here? Woo-woo! Everybody give them a round of applause. Absolutely. So good morning. I'm Denyse. I am the lady boss of Silicon Valley Forum. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and welcome to day 2 of the 2018 Women in Tech Festival. Yesterday was such an incredible day. We heard a great conversation about the importance of investing in diversity, and we got to see 10 badass female founders battling out for the win. Let's give it up for yesterday's champion from Prima Donna. I'm so excited to welcome you all here for our 4th anniversary, an amazing year. It is my hope today that today's event will inspire and empower you, and perhaps you will make some meaningful connections and a few friends along the way. I see a lot of new faces in the crowd, so if this is your first Silicon Valley Forum event, I hope that it is one of many. For all the familiar faces I see, welcome back. So I'm just curious, of all those familiar faces, how many of you have attended all 4 of our Women in Tech festivals? Raise your hand. 1? Stand up. My gosh, okay, so give her a round of applause, my gosh. So we have something special for you, and I have a volunteer who will give you our version of a golden ticket, but my favorite color is purple, so it's a purple ticket. So next year, you have a free all-access pass to the Women in Tech Festival's 5th anniversary. So we're so proud to organize this program because this is an event that will never stop growing. Every year, we learn more about how to make it even better, more inclusive, more diverse, richer in content, and richer in spirit. And we do this the best way we know how, by inviting incredible women and men to take the stage and discuss their experiences and share their knowledge, and create a platform, an environment where everybody here feels absolutely supported. And in that spirit, I want to ask you a favor. For every woman that you see standing alone at the break or sitting by herself, I ask that you reach out to her and invite her into the conversation. When small, meaningful gestures are made, that's when the real magic happens. And the kicker is this. We've already made it super easy for you because you already have 2 things in common. 1, you showed up today, and by extension, are already supporting this amazing community here. And 2, you are already both members of the League of Extraordinary Women, every woman in this room. So a few notes about the day before we get to our opening keynote. So we'll have a few panel discussions going on today, and you will see microphones on either side. So we will leave 10 minutes for Q&A, so if you'd like to ask anything to the panels, please line up there, and they will take your questions. Don't forget to visit our demo hall. There are a lot of great companies there for you to check out, and they are here for you. If you haven't already downloaded the Brella app, I suggest that you do so to really maximize your networking. We have 3 incredible workshop leaders today from IBM, from Santa Clara University, and from Mercer. The workshop with Mercer is going to be right here on the center stage, so plenty of room for a lot of people to come in and enjoy that. Finally, I want to make sure to thank our amazing partners. Our premier partner at Microsoft, thank you for 4 years of incredible support. Our gold sponsors, Mercer, Accenture, and IBM, thank you so much for your support. Our silver sponsors, Cognizant and the Canadian Consulate, thank you. And finally, our networking sponsor, and I'm not going to forget you this time, the wonderful folks at Sugar CRM. So without further ado, it is my pleasure and honor to welcome our keynote speaker. She's an author, entrepreneur. She's the founder of TechCrunch.co. She's fierce and she's badass. Please give it up for Jessica Naziri.
Thank you so much. You're badass. Thank you. Can I give you your, I don't know whose glasses these are, but I'm going to put them right over here. Okay. Well, good morning. So many amazing faces here. It reminds me back to when I had my bar mitzvah. That was that fun day that I had. It's really exciting to be here. I want to tell you a story. About 4 months ago, I was at a tech conference to speak. As I was getting ready to go on stage, someone approached me and asked me, "Oh, are you here to support your husband? Are you here to be that good trophy wife? I know you guys just got married." Arm candy? It took every piece of strength in my body to look that person square in the eye and to communicate, "No, it's actually me." And while some of you may think that it was a woman who asked me that, the fascinating thing is, it was actually a woman. That's the problem here. That's the challenge. This represents exactly what needs to be changed. But how do we change it? The only way we can change it is by starting a movement, a new way of thinking, a new narrative from within, a new narrative for the women in the tech industry. And now I have about 25 minutes to talk about how, not enough time, but I really invite you all to take on this new mindset, a new way of thinking through claiming, communicating, and in turn, changing. Because the need is so great that in a sense, this pathway, it needs to be that clear. The 3 C's, claiming, communicating, and changing. And it's not just a mindset, it's a path to action. Look at them as stepping stones. By claiming our space in the tech industry, communicating our experience and expectations, and by implementing action steps, we're changing the standard practice of how we operate and influence as women within this tech industry. So, who's ready to join me? Yeah. I knew I liked this room. Now, we can all wait. We can wait for another 100 years. The status quo will change. Eventually, it'll happen. But you guys are joining me, so now I want to tell you how we're going to get there. But I'm sure before that, you probably want to know a little bit about me. For those of you who haven't had the pleasure of meeting, hello, my name is Jessica Naziri. I started out in the tech industry as a technology reporter at CNBC. Now, as a young .com reporter, you do anything. So when my editor asked me, "Hey, who wants to volunteer for this technology story?" Now, let me remind you, at that time, this was before technology was a cool, sexy beat, before technology was something that a lot of people knew about or wanted to get into. I raised my hand. I love computers. I love technology. Maybe I don't know how to code, But this is how I learn, right? By working at it, by being on the job. So I raised my hand, and from there, I started writing and reporting on technology. I met all these amazing founders. I got to work with startups. I got to practice learning more, learning about valuations, figuring out what makes a good product. How do you tell your story if you have a good product so that I'll write about it? What's the message? What's the purpose? Right? Because behind every product, behind everything, there's a story. So that's what I was able to do. I was able to learn more about technology by being in it. From there, I went on to the Los Angeles Times. I moved from New York to LA, where I'm from, and I started the video technology department at the LA Times. At that time still, technology was not a beat where most people thought about startups. I reported on Tinder, I reported on Snapchat, I reported on all the different apps and gadgets and startups that my, old white male editors didn't know about. How would they know about Tinder? They're not swiping left or right to find a date. I hope not. And it's interesting because the way I found out about it, my sister was swiping. She was at college, and that's where they started that app. So slowly, we see that there was something growing. There was a big industry growing in Los Angeles. The startup scene was starting to grow there. It was really exciting to be a part of that. I had the video department that I was able to record videos, bring on people to interview, try out gadgets, and also, it was there that I got to really tell more stories about startups, the founders, the people, because at the end of the day, it's the people that are making those startups happen. So after some time, I didn't want to write about startups anymore. I wanted to work at one. It was really exciting. For the first time ever, I was making money at a startup. I had health insurance. It was okay to get sick. And also, I had a team, right? When you work at a startup, it's team building. But unfortunately, it was not everything that I thought it would be. Before I entered, I promised myself, like many people maybe here in the industry, I promised myself, I won't let my gender affect me. But boy, was I wrong. That's what led me to where I am today, though. And as horrible as it was, there's a reason why I'm standing here. There's definitely a reason. At that tech startup, I experienced challenges there that set me on the path to where I am today. So here's the challenge. This is what we face today. The quit rate is enormously high. Women are leaving the industry at more than twice the rate as men. The quit rate is 41% of women as the industry lead, as opposed to 17% of men. That's 41 compared to 17%. Clearly, there's a problem. Is it because there's just not enough women in tech, or are they just being pushed out before starting? In this room, we have incredibly accomplished and powerful women and men. We've all come a very long way from those first moments, from those first steps, those first forays into the industry. Many of us out here are now considered leaders in what we do, and that's amazing. These accomplishments truly, truly, truly deserve to be applauded and celebrated. These are no small feats here, but still, the stats don't lie. There are enough seats at the table. We just need to claim them. They're filled with men, but we need to change that. We need to figure out what the industry should look like. Women are constantly being brought into companies, and they're being invited to the dance, But within those companies, they are not being asked to dance. They're not picking the song. And because of that, the problem continues to linger. So how do we claim those seats? How do we make the table larger and inclusive and accommodate more seats at the table? I believe that we need to provide a new narrative, a new way of thinking for people who belong within the industry. It's time for us to begin this movement by claiming our space. So what does that mean? Well, one second while I grab some water. What does that mean? A great example is Whitney Wolfe from Bumble. Has anyone heard of Bumble? Raise your hand. Okay, another dating app. She was able to claim her space within the dating app market. It's one of the most crowded and established digital fields where over 90% of online dating startups fail. So how did she do that? She carved out a lucrative space by focusing on the needs and pure wants of one segment, women. She chose to implement women's expectations and change the tenor of dating dynamics by letting women make the first move. Think of it as a Sadie Hawkins dance. Through this, she defined and developed a new way of forward thinking, a new way into a billion-dollar industry with mantras like, "You're a queen bee," "Make the first move," and my favorite, "Be the CEO that your parents always wanted you to marry." Marketing, right? Marketing genius. But this speaks so many truths on so many levels. Be the CEO your parents always wanted you to marry. In this room, this is the next generation of future leaders. This is the next forward way of thinking. These are the women and the men who are going to make the newest products. And what's interesting is women have incredible purchasing power, and we're the ones buying these technology gadgets. We're the ones that are consuming. So it's high time that we claim our space within the market and use our creative powers to define these new opportunities, the products, the solutions, creating the technology that we use and serves us best. Claiming it from an inside-out approach because we know what we need. We can't sit there and wait for a man to make products that we'll be using. Women should be the creators, not just the consumers. This is our digital future, and we need to be a part of that. So once we claim and carve out our space, how do we communicate our expectations and experience within this new space? I'm going to butcher this name, so excuse me. Isis Anchali. She started the Twitter hashtag, "I look like an engineer," to show that there's not just one face in technology when it comes to programming or software engineering. Through a Twitter hashtag, she redefined what an engineer looks like, the challenges of race and gender stereotypes in technology. She didn't see no as a limitation. She didn't see her gender as a limitation. She saw it as an opportunity to find a new path and to defy stereotypes of what an engineer should look like. Now, what's interesting is her call to action, it was met with a strong response, with engineers and bigger companies, including Microsoft and Pinterest, posting their photos alongside that hashtag. The hashtag drew posts from both men and women, and it's still trending, it's still viral. I still go on Twitter, I still look through that hashtag to see what other engineers look like. By communicating, by speaking, by starting a new narrative and dialogue, let's write the story of the now and the future of what women in the industry should look like. Let's encourage an atmosphere of inclusion in technology. Inspire those who may not have thought of themselves of being engineers before, and to learn those engineering skills. So how do we do that? We need to be our own best advocate. At every opportunity, we need to tell our stories before someone else does it for us. By speaking up, telling our stories, adding our stories, and defining a new narrative. The Me Too movement encouraged so many people to speak out. It was such an honor to hear these stories, so many brave people speaking up, speaking out. It brought this newfound awareness at so many levels, leveraging social media, leveraging every aspect of the message. It went to so many different industries. But still, we have a lot of work to do. So how do we move it one step further from conversation into action? It's about defining clear pathways to make change, to bring that change and awareness and transform it into action. So before I go any further, I would like to engage us all to play a little game, if you'll let me. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself in a conference room with your team leader. Your team leader is looking for a volunteer, someone to volunteer for a task that might be out of your comfort zone, out of your boundaries, maybe something that you know you're not so good at. Keep your eyes closed. Now, with your eyes closed, tell me, raise your hand. Would you volunteer for this opportunity? Put your hand up high if you would volunteer for this opportunity. Now, open your eyes and keep your hands raised and take a look around. This room is exactly what we should be doing. We need to continually raise our hands up high. That is what brings about change. It's defining those clear pathways to make change, to change awareness and transform it into action. It's interesting because I've done this exercise before, and most people don't raise their hand. This is a good audience, like I was saying. It's wonderful. It's exciting that this room is doing this. But how do we encourage others to do the same? To work outside of their comfort zones, to create new problems and solutions, to grow themselves, to make themselves stronger by navigating when it's not comfortable. We need to raise more hands at this level. Let's change how we go about taking action at meetings. Raise our hands when we feel uncomfortable. When we volunteer for tasks, let's put ourselves out there so we can begin to change our own behavior, to change the way we approach things. I always like to say, before you change someone else's mindset, you have to change your own. You need to lead by example. I raised my hand when I was at CNBC, and I didn't think I could do the job, but I did. It's by those little hands going up. It's by those uncomfortable moments that we take. By adopting those 3 C's, we can begin to move the needle. The quit rates will slowly go down. There will be more avenues to join. Now, this sounds wonderful, but I'm really proud to stand here today and tell you how I've been implementing it into my own path. Every day working towards making it part of my journey, my thinking, and my way of life. With TechCrunch, I was able to claim my space by leveraging things that I knew, things that I valued, leveraging that female perspective and defining a new pathway for the technology industry, bringing together what I was passionate about, what I know best, the idea of bringing an element of lifestyle, fashion, aesthetic digital life, social media, all from a female perspective and creating a new niche. We're living in an extraordinary time where everything is transformed into technology, whether it's business, whether it's fashion, whether it's the way that we eat, the places we go, what we see, what we do. We're so connected. Now, I may not have an engineering degree, but these worlds are all converging. As we develop new innovations to scale our brands, I'm working with technology partners who also understand the value of how people like me see the world. And right now, we all know there's not enough women in technology. So with TechSesh, I'm bringing those worlds together, in a sense defining a new category for someone who's not a coder, for someone who wants to exist within this industry but doesn't know how to get started. I was able to have conversations and open dialogue with women who didn't fit into this perfect mold of what a tech career should look like, who were looking for ways to get into the space, but they thought that they didn't belong. Through TechSesh, we were able to communicate content about new technology within the social media landscape, through videos, through television appearances, and through brand partnerships. Take one glance at the content of the site and the images of our Instagram and the women that are making our community truly so special, and you'll understand who we are and what we truly stand for instantly. To be inclusive, to inspire, to educate, and equip girls with the tech skills they need to pursue 21st century opportunities. And from that, I was able to leverage that new space that I claimed and communicated. I claimed and communicated my expectations, my way of thinking more and more and more and more. The fact that pink is not a strategy. Yes, I love pink, clearly, but it's not a strategy. This is not the way that you sell to women. It's not a one-size-fits-all movement. It's not. It's actually lazy. It might work really well for breast cancer awareness. That's great. But pink is not a strategy. There's also a pink it and shrink it. You can't just slap that on our products and expect for all of us to go and buy those products. That's just not how it works. So for me to be able to go in to these companies and explain to them, and to be that person sitting at the table and tell them, you know what, this is not how you're going to sell X, Y, or Z. This is not how you're going to set a tone. This is not the type of way you're going to reach your audience. This is not it. I'm allowing myself to communicate that, to set the tone. TechSesh provides a forum where I can create dialogue, a gathering space for the female perspective, through mentorship and meetups, through our pages, through those direct messages. We're having conversations. We're speaking. We're talking about our experience. And as much as people come to learn more about technology on that forum, I'm continuously learning from everyone else that's on there. I'm learning. I'm growing. So I claim that space, my audience, to bring the gap between the tech world and the female consumer perspective. And TechSesh allows me to foster those two worlds, to take that information and to get it out there, to learn from them, like I said, as much as they're learning from me. And communication is not just about speaking my message. It's about hearing others, growing, and sharing their perspectives. I leveraged a new perspective and put it into action. I encourage other companies that I work with to do the same, to make sure that our mission statement is aligned, to make sure that they're working on increasing their diversity with specific and measurable goals, time goals, they're relevant, supporting organizations where they really take care of bringing in diversity. Our missions need to align. Change is the outcome of claiming and communicating. TechCrunch gathers these different perspectives, shares them, and by sharing them, I'm being picked to decide what music I want on, the companies that I work with. I'm being invited to pick the music now, and within those companies, influence daily operations, and that's how I bring action and bring change. My call to action is all our little pieces to the puzzle. You have a piece of a puzzle, you have a piece of the puzzle. We all have different pieces to the puzzle, but we need to put them all together collectively. It's those little puzzle pieces that make such a difference. So what I ask of you today, identify those women, identify those companies, reach out to them, support them. If that interests you, please reach out to me and let's make something happen. First, we leaned in, and now we're standing up. Through this new mindset of claiming, communicating, and changing, we're building the careers of our dreams, and it's through a movement. It's time to rewrite the narrative of what women in the tech industry should look like. Thank you.